What is going on, you Blitz scallywags? It is this time to finally get this podcast going. My name is Dan,
And I'm Prism the Angler.
and we stand on business.
Always.
You're supposed to do it with me, but that's okay. That's fine. We're here now.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, it's our first podcast, and this is it, dude. This is where we just sit here and talk about anything and everything, and stand on business about our topics that people are a little bit frightened to talk about.
Shouldn't be the case. There's a lot to stand on business in the league, as you always do, Dan.
Oh, and you as well, Mr. Media Positivity. And let's just jump into it, okay? Let's just jump into it. We got a checklist here, and the first one is the jump ball meta good for Blitz?
Why don't you start us off with that, Dan?
I don't think so. I don't like it very much. I think that we should go ahead. I know we were talking about it the other day. It's really changed. I would say the depiction of what 5 to 6 games this year,
Mm-hmm.
and crucial games to teams to go ahead and make playoffs, teams to go ahead and win the playoffs, like the Apes last week. I guess it was kind of both ways, but I feel like we should definitely change it to the point where you have to get in within like 60 to 70 yards to go ahead and throw it that far. And it should be 60, 70 yard limit. If we can do that, to go ahead and not penalize people that are trying to go ahead and milk properly for just a random RNG play 100 yards down the field.
Yeah, I feel you. I take more of a middle ground. I'm not a fan of seeing these 2v3s, 2v2s because it's just a clusterfuck. I love seeing the 1v1s. Uh, but I worry if you put a passing yardage limiter that you're going to be able to play some type of shell D where it's just going to be hard to really get that deep. But then again, it's very rare that you get a normal 90-yard touchdown anymore. Um, so I don't think it's. I think I'm slightly negative to middle on this one.
Okay. Okay. So you're standing on no business on this. You're standing on in the gray on this topic.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of being a coward on this one.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't love seeing the milk either. But yeah, I don't like seeing the 3v2 jump balls. It's kind of a limp dick way to end the game in a way. Because with that much of a clusterfuck, I really don't know if there's much skill in it. You're just hoping for the best, you know.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I don't think it's good for the game. I think that we should try to go ahead and change it if it's not too much of an issue for money. Um, because it ruins the game, and a lot of people just take advantage of it. A lot of people just literally just throw it up 80, 90 yards, 2v1, 2v2. And heck, even Devin caught one for a 2v3 to knock Legion basically out of the playoffs, right? So, yeah,
It's a very tricky scenario.
not a good one. Not a good one. Um, On to the next one. This one's my stand on business topic. So, what we're going to do here on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and non binaries and Apache helicopters, whatever you pronounce yourself as. Um, what we do here is that we're going to have our own topics where we truly stand on it. So Prism has some topics in this. I have some topics on this, integrated in this. And then we also have kind of like neutral ones. So this one was a neutral one. And this next one is my personal one and why avocados are like baby food. The consistency, the texture, it just grosses me out, man. It just grosses me out. It's like eating a little baby food. I'd rather eat applesauce than eat an avocado.
You know, Dan,
What?
I kind of see where you're going with it, but actually, I really like avocados.
Oh, man.
Like I
Unlucky.
put them on my sandwich.
Oof.
I did get into the avocado toast. I'll do eggs, put avocado on there. Some of those Trader Joe hot peppers. I forget what they're called, the little red ones, you know.
Okay.
That's my little secret. And
Yeah.
I feel like I get good protein. I mean, it's a little high calorie, but good protein, good nutrients. It just kind of elevates it. Do you not like the taste either?
I don't like the taste either. No, the consistency throws me off, but then also the taste is just like, uh, it's like I wouldn't say too green, but it's just it's not something that's usually in my food pile. I'm a huge fruit guy. I don't like that much vegetables. I like asparagus, broccoli. I do like Brussels sprouts. I'm not really that much of a picky eater, but avocados are like one of those ones where it's just like no, no way, Jose. So
So where do you stand on guac?
kind of the same thing with consistency, but I've had a couple of good guacs. Like when I was in San Diego, I try it. It's not like I don't try it either. I'm not one of those people that just tries it once and is like, nah, I'm done with it, right? I try the food, I keep on having it, and then I come to the conclusion, like after maybe the sixth or seventh time having it, that I'm just not a fan. Because I used to not like spicy stuff, but now I like spicy stuff.
Ooh,
So
that's
yeah, yeah.
okay. Do you think it's a fad or do you think it's here to stay? Because
Avocado.
avocado prices are pretty crazy.
I know. Well, it's because of the whole entire Mexico thing, and that's politics and stuff. And maybe we'll get down there one day. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a little fad, but me personally, it just tastes like baby food. So that's my
Yeah,
stand on business.
I gotta say, when I was in Oaxaca in Mexico, they were not happy about the avocado prices rising because of us whites.
Mm,
We kind of
gosh, you
came and
gotta
took
love
that shit.
America. Yeah, God. Uh, talking about whites, our next topic is Jeff back. Jeff won a tournament the other day, his own tournament, impromptu $150 tournament, and you were on his team, Priz. What do you think about this staying on business topic?
You know, I feel like this is one that's either yes or no, depending on the day of the week. I will tell, it's a shame we don't have the recording. Vintage Jeff was fucking back. I'm
Hmm.
telling you, he was doing the improv offense. He was doing aggressive defense. None of that sit back and hacks defense the whole game. No, 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 no. Let's go after the QB. Let's wide 2B. Let's rotate. Let me randomly jump the short and hope Prism's deep. Let's do gamble D when they're on the 4 yard line. That one was kind of me, but he was like, hell yeah, where we gave
Yeah.
up a touchdown. I mean, it was pristine. I felt like I was back in 2008.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Do you think that it's a product of having two veterans on his team? Like, do you feel like his offense can actually flourish within an offense, like kind of like what we saw earlier this season with Tuca and Gasol, someone that's some people that are a little bit newer that don't know how to go ahead and improv correctly and stuff. Do you feel like, he needs two veterans to kind of make his
Oh yeah,
offense go?
for sure, for sure. In the game against the League of Shadows, I can never remember their fucking team name. I'm sorry, no hate.
Yeah.
It's just the most forgettable team name we've ever had. Yeah, so when we played League, I really didn't set up Jeff for success with the lineup. Going against veterans, defensive calls, and everything. And they hadn't really practiced with Jeff much. So I do think he needs two veterans. Though I was surprised that he didn't cook more against GGG with Gurley. Sometimes his bad it depends if his bad habits are out or not. Because there's some games where Jeff will just take a 20-yard sack and then it just kills the drive because he doesn't want to take the 1 to 2 yard sneak or the 2 yard sack, so he'll keep going backwards. But I mean, when Jeff is on, he's fucking on.
Yeah. What surprised me most was the League of Shadows game. League of Shadows game, like thing, first time playing back in so many years, right? And then he just literally just made him and Thing did really good. I think he's got really good reactions. I think every time he does play, even when he blitzed against Romo, he did pretty good as well, right? Is within his angles and stuff. But like Jeff wasn't the elusive Jeff that we usually see, right? He did like one fake down and then roll up, and he just did these like very vanilla roll patterns, and is like, what is he doing? Like that's not shake and bake Jeff. That's not Mr. Chef himself, you know?
Yeah, that's what it felt like to me. I kind of remember Kite in season 3 doing that, where he would just literally scroll up one way.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it just didn't look like classic Jeff. Like I was even confused. But Thang did a great job that game, obviously.
Yeah, he did. He did. Kind of neutralized Jeff. Um, yeah, I think Jeff. We'll see. He wants to go ahead and captain next league. Maybe we'll get some more tournaments in. We'll see him on different teams. But yeah, I do think for his offense to flourish with that rotation offense, with him just calling hike or whatever the case is, he needs people to have the knowledge to go ahead and have, you know, to know what spacing is, what correct spacing is when running routes, and how to open up the routes, and what lures kind of go ahead and open it up, and all that stuff. So for me, I'll say I don't think Jeff's back yet, even though he did show it a little bit. I'm gonna stand on business on that. I think he showed it a little bit in that tournament, but he also did have you and Devin, and I think you guys had a lot of good synergy within that tournament.
And I will say, I think Devin is the type of blitzer. I mean, obviously anyone wants Devin, but for
Yeah.
Young, having that fast, twitchy blitzer versus like, I mean, Mouton's a great blitzer too. He did a great job for us versus that like diving kind of thing. I think him having a Devin or a Limb is like perfect for his type of defense.
Yeah, lets him gamble a little bit, go ahead and throw different looks. Yeah, so you think Jeff's back, or it's based on veterans? It's looking upwards. What's your take?
I think he'll be back next season. I think on a serious team with like veterans that know how to do defenses and everything, he definitely will be. And
Yeah.
it's just electric playing with Jeff when he's on. Some QBs are really good, but they're kind of boring to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which could include myself, honestly. But
Yeah.
Jeff is just he's a blast to watch.
Yeah, and he's having so much fun doing it, right? Like he has so much passion. He's even when Jeff is like absolutely sucking the nut, it's just like okay, but he's like giggling. But then you like kind of get mad because I had that experience with Phoenix D, is that he's kind of not doing too good, but he's like giving props to the other team. Like when Lemnos made that really good interception against him, which was an invalid, which was you know a bad throw on his part. And it was like, oh man, he's like, man, that was such a good play by Love Nose, man. That was such a good play. And it's like, oh, Jeff is such a goober. He's a little competitive. He likes talking to smack, but he's always got the vibes. Even if it feels fake sometimes, he does got the vibes. He
But
does.
Dan, I got to stand on business about that too.
Hmm.
Accountability. That's just something like we see with some players. Jeff will admit when someone made a good play or admit when he got outplayed. But others just don't want to do that. I'm sure I've done it myself at times. But I remember before we forfeited our season 2 Super Bowl, like literally for months now, all they've done is just complain, complain, complain. Like sometimes you just have to move on from a loss and just give props to the other team. So I love that Jeff does that, and I respect it.
That's true. That's our Mufasa. That's our king. He does take accountability very well. I know that even my early seasons, kind of like what you said. My early seasons, it's like even if I throw a little bit late, I think that someone could go ahead and make the play. And instead of me saying that I threw the ball late, I would blame that other person. But that's an area that I'm trying to go ahead and get better as well. And gosh, quarterback is the hardest position to play, and also it's the most like rewarding. You risk and reward, right? Like if it's PP, it's good, you're great. But if it's a little late on different routes, you're just screwed, or you're hanging in the balance.
Yeah, if things are clicking and you're on, QB's fun, but like I mean, if that blitz is getting to you or things aren't working out, it's frustrating.
Yeah. All right. This next topic is your topic. Do you want to go ahead and read it off?
Dan, read it off for me, just because I
Okay.
might have forgot.
Okay. Okay. You wanted to go ahead and put this in that tournaments are undervalued.
Yeah, I think so. I think I have a few reasons just spitballing. I think tournaments put people in a unique position where you have to like quickly adapt to different teammates. You have to play with different people. You don't have much time in the games because they're 12 to 15-minute games. So there's not as much room for error.
Mhm.
You have to quickly kind of make reads on players. I think we don't count them enough. Like I think Jeff's tournament win the other night is pretty valuable in my eyes. I know when I won one with Nito and Tony the other night, I value that as much as our forfeited Super Bowl win. So I think they should be taken into account when we're talking about player skill level because if certain players consistently win with others, I think that's something to be valued, especially if they're demonstrating it at different positions.
I think that's the big thing too, is that when people can go ahead and play, wide receiver or running back at a high level, it makes them very sexy within the tournament value scheme of things. Or if you have synergy, I know that I've been on teams lately with newer quarterbacks within the tournament settings, and just seeing them get used to the first experience of like competitive quarterbacking, right? Because it's totally different in pubs than when you go into a money tournament that everybody's sweating their balls off, or to a league setting where people want that ship or that money, whatever the incentivization is. So like, yeah, tournaments, I do feel like it's a little undervalued in situations, because especially if um you're choosing the team, you got to go ahead and choose the team. What do you think will go ahead and fit best for your team composition itself? As if you're the quarterback, okay, well, how are they going to go ahead and react to my plays, defensive synergy, stuff like that? Or how you guys do naturally if you haven't ever played before. So yeah, I agree. I think tournaments are hugely undervalued, and especially the big money tournaments. Like, what's the difference between? Well, I guess the difference between a league and a tournament is a league is a long, grueling season. A tournament is basically like one day, right?
Yeah, and I think on the other part of tournaments, I think I'm more interested in tournaments now. Like, it just kind of freshens things up playing with new players. Like this season, yeah, I just wasn't interested in playing in league, and I got sucked into it with the FOMO and then needing one more captain. But so I wasn't excited for our league game. So I mean, playing that game with like Nito the other day was fun. Playing with Jeff was fun the other day. I think it just brings another level of excitement.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I think, especially with Jeff, obviously money talks, and the community goes ahead and wakes up, and it's like their underpants are on fire when Jeff randomly goes out and says, "Hey, $150 tournament, $100 tournament." Um, well, I guess I just did one the other day too, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's I would agree with you. Tournaments are definitely undervalued. I think they should get a little bit more recognition. I've never won a playoff game per se, but just like what you said within your post, I won a lot of tournaments back in my heyday, but now I'm washed. So now I'm just sitting there for the vibes. I'm like the coach. I'm just like the old coach that used to be something. I'm the Deion Sanders. I'm prime time. That's what I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all the
Are
mess
there
up feet.
any? Oh God.
Yeah.
Are there any type of tournaments you want to see happen? Like any formats that you can think of? I have one myself. I could
Oh,
bounce
do
off
it.
you.
Yeah, do it. Let's hear it.
Well, yeah. So I think maybe an extended like pick your own team tournament.
Okay.
Um, that way you can see people with the true teams, like build these super teams, right?
Mhm.
I know the concern is maybe filling out the bottom two teams. Maybe people will scramble. So my suggestion is to also have a show match between the teams that finish at the bottom. Give them some money to play for. Give them a game that's going to be streamed. That way, everyone has some fun. Everyone has some juice,
Mhm.
something on the line.
I think that's a great idea to do in the off season.
Yeah.
You know, while we pan everything out for the next league, what I realize is that when leagues stop happening, Blitz starts dying. So once it's not in league season anymore, and we have like a multi-day tournament that people can go ahead and look for, then yeah, they're gonna go ahead and practice for it. Especially if it's got money involved, and it's like, let's say that it's like a 2 week long tournament or whatever the case is, and you have a full round robin, not this half round robin stuff that we've been doing. Oh yeah, man, people will be there. $300 tournament or whatever. I wasn't here for the Smith tournament or the other one you guys had. I don't know how successful was it. Successful? A lot of people show up.
Yeah.
Good.
I think all the tournaments have been pretty good from what I've seen.
Okay. So with that being said, like, you go ahead, put that idea within the off season, and give incentivize people just like what you're talking about. Give it a little bit extra of that oomph. Oh yeah, people will show up. People will love it. Hell, even if it's not money for the last, like, if you know Jeff doesn't want to go ahead and put hundreds and hundreds of dollars, or other people. You could even do an ante tournament where people go ahead and put, you know, $10 or $20 in for their ante, and then you have a chance to go ahead and win if you got like six teams, 18 players. 18 players times 20 is what? What is
I
that?
didn't hear how much you said. Sorry.
Yeah. 20 times 18.
Oh, probably
Yeah.
a good chunk of change.
Yeah. So
360.
yeah. Yeah. So we could do that as well. You know, people like gambling and trying to go and play for their money if people don't want to go ahead and fork up their money out of their own volition. So
Yeah. I think the other thing, maybe you mix up the rules, like only 3 downs or some special things, like each player gets to call for a jump ball once a game for a 1v1 or something, get it a little spicy and kind of differentiate a little bit.
oh yeah. Everybody likes chaos. Some people don't like too much chaos, but the fun chaos is where it gets pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd also love some show matches. I like to see some 1v1 QB contests, but we just haven't quite had that stuff lately, or some of it never.
Ooh, talking about that, let's segue to our next topic of the QB's run contest because Frizz, this is another juicy one that you want to go and talk about. QB's running the ball. What the hell do you mean by that?
Well, so I played on Dangerous season 3, and Young ran the ball quite a bit. Looks like he ran the ball 104 times, 770 yards in 7 games last season.
Mm-hmm.
And all I heard was people talking to Young like, "Oh, he only wins because he runs. Really, that's his only offense." But Daniel,
Yes, sir.
I feel like I've noticed a trend this season that the QB run is going up, up, up. If I just mosey on over to the rushing leaderboard, I see 470 yards, 418 yards. Each of those has 5 rushing touchdowns, 6 rushing touchdowns. Another 361 at third, 316 with 4 touchdowns at fourth. So I'm kind of standing on business for Jeff. People did not give Jeff his respect last season. And then secondly, everyone's hypocrites. They're running the fucking ball, Dan, especially in playoffs. My ass ran it like 18 times for about 90 yards. Krusty ran it for 100 yards. I'd have to pull up the other game, but I'm sure there was quite a bit of runs in that one
How
as
many
well.
rushing attempts did Jeff have last year?
He had about 100.
Okay. Okay.
That's quite, and I feel like that ramped up at the end of the season like crazy.
Yeah. Well, that
But
is still a significant amount more than Wayne at 58, Finn at 68, Lemnos at
mhm.
59, Cressy at 55. But what is the rushing yards? How many rushing yards did Jeff get last year?
I think he had about 700. So the yards per
Okay.
game are kind of similar. Um, for example, if we take Wayne's, he has 473, and he only did that in 5 games. That's 94 yards rushing a game. So I'm just trying to compatibilize things.
Hmm.
You know, did Jeff only win because of running? Is running allowed now? I know running was banned in the season 2 playoffs, so I'm trying to see at what point did we allow running, and what do you think of the current state, Dan? Because I think a lot of it's in the red zone.
I think a lot of people get upset with some of the blitzing techniques that are being used, and they just go ahead and wall sneak, which wall sneaking is really tough to go ahead and stop from a blitzing standpoint. Even if you try to go ahead and read it and you know that you're getting the quarterback a little bit flustered, you truly got to guess right, kind of, or just try to go ahead and take that egregious angle, especially if it's the receiver, and try to hope that the wide receiver range kind of bails you out. But I don't know. I think, with the quarterbacks that we do have, Wayne has definitely ran a lot more in the past that we've seen. Smith as well. Like, how many times have we like scratched our eyes out this season watching him not sneak the ball? There's so many times where he could have sneaked the ball, which he did a lot better job within the playoff game of sneaking the ball than he did in the regular season. Roma sneaks a lot. Lemno sneaks a lot. Cressy, I think, has bumped it up, and obviously Finn is just a little sneak whore. He's always up there and rushing attempts and stuff like that. But um, if we don't want sneaks, a couple things. If we don't want them to go ahead and abuse the wall sneak, then, and especially in the red zone, then we got to go ahead and recognize the sneak in the red zone because a lot of people in the red zone just spy. So what else is a quarterback supposed to do? Right? Take that 2v1 chance. Maybe, a lot of quarterbacks are learning that if they're running a C3 from the get-go, then you just run handoffs or wildcats. That's a really broken play, really good play in the red zone. Um, But yeah, I think Jeff did run the ball a lot last season. I think that's always been his MO. A lot of these quarterbacks that kind of cried about it last season kind of ran the ball a lot too. But I I don't know. I don't know. You think it's a little hypocritical from them to go ahead and say that Jeff ran the ball a lot, even though the Jeff had like 100 and these guys only have, well, I guess Finn almost has 70.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say some of these guys are averaging about the same yards per game as Jeff did, or at least pretty close. So I think it is a bit hypocritical. Like, where do we say it's the right amount to run?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where that barometer is. And speaking of, I'll tell you something else. I'll stay on business. I would rather go against, say, like an elite coverage, Finn and Irv, than have to go against Devin's fucking ass. Because even if you try to wall sneak, he's still right on you. Like I don't. It completely changes your playbook.
Yeah, that's true. Him and Blue Squid. Blue Squid was turning on there for a little bit too. Hope you come back, Blue Squid. I know that you gotta take a break. Everybody's gotta take a break because this community can be a little bit too much sometimes. But shout out to Duxer as well, the leader of the Coward Clan that I founded. Seaward Clan actually. Yeah. Yeah, I honestly don't frown upon sneaking. If you want to go ahead and stop sneaking, then run a one short, one deep, run a trap D or whatever the case is to negate the sneaking. So I don't mind. I didn't mind that Jeff ran the ball that much last season. I don't mind quarterbacks running the ball or trying to go ahead and get the yards in front of them in the red zone. People just gotta suck it up, Buttercup, and play better defense. That's where I'm
I
gonna
think
sit
that's
on
pretty
this.
well said.
Any last words on your topic?
No, no, I think that covers it pretty well.
Okay. All right. On to the next one. Player rankings and impact on a player's ability to win. How much do we take that into account?
Yeah, Dan. Honestly, this one I'm kind of just posing as an open question because I think you can look at player rankings as just a skill, but I think there's like different ways blitz can be played. Like if Smith wanted to win more games, he would run the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's certain players that are more cutthroat with the I'm playing this game for fucking keeps. Like I'm trying to win the goddamn game, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering how much do we take that into account when we're doing these player rankings? Because some players are really good at winning, and obviously that's the point of the game. I mean, obviously you're trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
So to what degree do we value that?
So a player that pops in my mind when thinking about this is Cressy. If you look at his stats, this past couple of games have been absolutely great. What was it? 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's ran the ball a little bit more effectively, which is good. But man, most of his regular season was just absolutely poo poo, and he was still winning most of those games. And I do feel like it comes to a time. Tom Brady didn't have the best games a lot of times, but majority of the times his stats truly proved to what his season came out to. Patrick Mahomes, you can kind of say the same thing to that as well if we're doing NFL comparisons. So, winners just win, and it's having that awareness and game awareness and demeanor, and sometimes it's RNG luck. So, to be honest, I feel like some people that get kind of out of the scenario is Wick. Wick hasn't won that much in the regular season in playoffs. Lemnos hasn't won that much regular season in playoffs. I haven't won that much in, I guess you can say both regular season and playoffs as well. Who's the other good players that haven't won that much that are still really good players?
Tony,
Yeah,
Tony
Tony
Smith.
Yep. So I truly think that it's a team game. Um, and if you have someone like obviously you've been there basically every season, Wayne's been there every single season to the championship. But if you have those people that have a demeanor, plus Wayne's also had Finn another tier 1 on 2 of those teams, right? So if you mix it to this one, I think it's kind of secure. But I think it's more of a team composition than just one person.
So I guess are you saying it's not the whole formula when you're looking at the like creating like a top 5 ranking, but fairly valued, pretty valued? What would you kind of describe it?
If I'm basing it in someone's tier list, I would have winning in there a little bit, but I would also have the stats in there, and I'll also have like the eye test, right? And if we're just basing off of league, or if you're gonna go ahead and intertwine tournaments in there too, I would look at somebody within a competitive setting and be like, oh yeah, man, this person has lost, really crucial playoff games. All my playoff games have been by a touchdown or less. And, that's just one. And Wick was a part of one of those. Lemnos has had really tough seasons. Lemnos has been on two really bad record teams, but I don't think anybody would go ahead and say Lemnos is below a tier 2 player, right? Or he's not one of the better blitzers or one of the better defenders that we have within the game, right? So I think all
Right.
of that kind of culminates into one pot in my eyes to go ahead and put, hey, that person's tier 1, tier 2, XYZ.
Okay, fair enough. I still myself am kind of wondering about this. Yeah, you mentioned Krusty. Yeah, he's certainly one of the players, and we got to give him his props. I mean, last season we didn't. Some players did not respect season 3. I know I was one that said, hey, some of these teams are really good. The QB it matters, but it's not the whole recipe. And Krusty had a perfect QBR in last season's Super Bowl against Dangerous. We weren't a great defensive team, but we had 3 veterans. Um, and he did it again. He had like a pretty perfect game in playoffs. I think there's some people that really know how to play to win. Uh, Krusty knows how to manage the clock very well, and I think certain players don't have it in them. I can mention one. Finn doesn't really have it in him, and he said it himself. And it happened in the Super Bowl. He could have milked more before halftime, but he left me like a minute and a half on the clock, and we ended up getting a touchdown. Same thing happened. I think I'm like kind of in the middle ground, but I don't think I'm great at it either. Sometimes I can't be asked to milk. Like against Krusty, we had the ball, we were driving, and I saw 1:30 on clock, and I was like, we're probably gonna get bit back in the ass if I score a touchdown here. But I just didn't want to sit around. And plus, it's not like a touchdown would be guaranteed if I did.
Yeah.
Getting a touchdown and then getting a field goal is still better than just getting a field goal. But tactically, it probably would have been smarter for me to milk. So there's certain people that really play those game situations and will commit themselves, and it helps your ability to win. And I think it needs to be taken into account maybe a little bit more than we do. Um, I mean, honestly, like at this point, is Krusty a top 5 player in the league, Dan?
I know Blue Squid photoshopped those photos of me saying that he was, but I I don't think so. I don't think Crusty's one of the top 5 players. If for me, a top 5 player, like within what avenue are we saying that he's a top 5 quarterback? We saying a top 5 receiver or running back? Because if I'm thinking player, I'm thinking like overall player, right? Like I can
Um,
go ahead and select him, and then I know that he can go ahead and put value on any position out there.
I would say kind of player at their best position. So,
Okay.
for example, Lim has QB'd a lot in league, but I think we all know RB is his best position.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would say no because of his defense. I would say his defense still is very spotty in areas, and his offense and his time management and stuff like that is great. He can go ahead and be repetitive within his play calls as well, but he has broadened his play calls, his playbook a little bit. Um, but his time management and stuff like that, and his ability to win can go ahead and bring him into that conversation. But for me personally, I don't have him in the top 5.
What would you say your top 5 is? And I can, if you want to start, I can kind of go through. In February, I remember I did one. So this is unchanged. This is what I had in February.
Yep.
I had Turkey Fry, number 1 player in the league, Irvine, number 2, Duxter, number 3, Finn, number 4, Wayne, number 5. And I think if I did it today, I would change it to Finn, number 1, Turkey, number 2, Irvine, 3. I'll take Ducks out. I'll put Wayne at 4. And I think 5, I would put Devin, but maybe I would put Krusty at 5.
We're talking about this league, top 5 of this season.
It's like league now. Yeah, just like
currently?
present day. Yeah.
Well, I would say I would put you at number one because no matter what you play, you always have a factor. If it's tournaments, if it's league, like you just took two rookies and barely lost to Krusty and two people that have been playing this game for 18 plus years. Um, and you got them really close in that game. So that just speaks to your prowess and what you bring to the field. So I would say you number one. I would say Wayne number two. He got really lucky in the last game. I don't think I said it on the broadcast. I don't think he deserved to win that game. I think the Apes really deserved to win that game, even though that they got a jump ball as well. They got really lucky with RNG. Didn't they have a fumble or something like that? Smith got unlucky. Shouldn't have
Yeah.
boosted within that situation, but at the same time, like the guy performs and he knows how to win. So he performs and wins. Um, three. Three. Hmm.
And I'll respond after you're done.
Okay. Three, I would go ahead and have overall player right now within league and everything that's going on. Um, man, that's tough for me. I think I think honestly, someone that's been slept on a lot lately, especially that nobody throws to his side in the offensive season he had, was Tony. So I would either put, myself or Tony at the 3 to 4 position. So 3 to 4 is kind of. I'll stand on business on this. I think Tony, with the way that he's been playing lately, would be 3. I would be 4, and then you have someone like Devin or. Oh,
No
I haven't
Finn or
said
Irv?
Irvine. I haven't said Irvine yet.
Oh,
Hold on a second. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna get
Yeah.
Ocho mad at you.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Hold on, Dan.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me go
Hold on,
back. Let me
Dan.
let
Hold
me let
on,
me go back.
Dan.
Let me go back. Let me go
Dan,
back.
hold on.
Let me go back. I'm going back. I'm going back.
You don't want to
I
stand on
forgot
business
Irv.
on that,
I
Dan.
forgot Irv. I forgot Irv.
Forgot
I'm gonna stand
Finn.
on business. I didn't forget Finn. I didn't forget Finn.
Okay.
I did
Okay.
not.
Stand on
Um,
business.
yeah, yeah. I'm sitting on business. I would say Irv is probably 3, and then I would probably put me 4, and then Tony and Finn, with the way that they played lately, I think are pretty close.
Okay.
Um, I would go ahead and have them tied for 5th. Um, and that's because, Tony's been playing really good receiving wise. The way that he runs routes, it gets you guessing. And then defensively, like he gambles a lot, yes, but not that many people throw to his side because it's usually a little bit harder to throw on his side. And I think Finn has shown chinks in his armor lately. I think he truly has. He gets sacked a lot every single game. He's the most sacked quarterback I think that we've ever had in the league. He turns over the ball in crucial situations. He also gives up deep. Irv has to bail him out a lot in deep situations. So I think Finn has shown a lot of chinks in his armor, and I love Finn. He's one of my boys. I've known him for a very long time, but I think with the way that Tony's been playing of recently, like you gotta give him his flowers.
Okay. I think responding to yours, obviously I would put myself much lower.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my defense, I actually think I'm, as far as coverage goes, probably one of the, as far as like, starters that plays in coverage,
Mm-hmm.
probably one of the bottom 3 defenders in the league right now. But back-to-back seasons, I've been like at the bottom defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess responding to Finn, I think Finn, it depends when you catch him.
Mm-hmm.
If he hasn't played a league game in a while, then he's doing that quick twitchiness where he's juking a ton. But man, if you catch him after that game, he is gonna absolutely cook your ass. Like I remember against us, he was just on fire with everything, passing, and then like he would just take the runs. I think he had like 90 yards rushing or something like that, and like great passing stats. And Tony, I think I do see your point there. I think Tony could make that case. What Tony needs to do is play on a stable team all season, and to play with someone who's a strong defender. I think that really helped me when I played with Ocho.
Mm-hmm.
Season 1, I played with Money, who was kind of learning the ropes. Who, by the way, Money, you've become so much better on defense now. Props to you. And then like Jeff and Rookie, where I don't quite feel comfortable, and I'm not making an excuse out of that. But I think he needs to play with another strong defender where it doesn't leave one side vulnerable, so we can truly see what coverage he is. I think we would have saw that if he stuck with your team season 1.
The
Oh, yeah,
reason
but,
why you're so low. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, just for the stay on business. So for a while I've said Turkey Fry is one of the best players in the league. I think he's a quarterback on defense. I don't think anyone blitzes like him. I think maybe you're the closest, Dan. Like Lynn and Devin are more of those quick, twitchy.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you make just that one mistake, and he's going to get you, and then he's also going to get a ton of sacks.
Yeah, I think Turk is good. We just don't see him that much, and in league, he's kind of came down a little bit off the high horse a little bit in the past couple of weeks. But he's probably on the outside looking in within my list of players that are currently playing right now. But I would have to say with you, the reason why you're so low on that freaking fantasy point, whatever list, and I know I shot my shots at you the time previous, is because nobody throws in your zone. So if nobody throws in your zone or you don't have that many opportunities, then you're going to get the lower points. So that's just proven to you of why, because you do a really good job on reading the play and reading the obvious. So, yeah, fantasy points and those rankings and stuff can be a little bit misleading with where you're at.
Well, I appreciate it, but I will say I just sometimes am guarding nothing and having a little too much space on defense. Shout out to Tuca. He covered for my ass a lot in the playoffs. We'll get into that pretty shortly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Let's jump into it right now. We're like 50 minutes into the podcast and week 1 recap of playoffs. So, first week of playoffs, we had the Majestic Apes against the League of Shadows, and then we had the Resilient Lions versus the Dancing Turkey. Let's talk about your game first. So really, both of them were barn burners, but yours was, came down to the wire, 28-31 in the favor of the Dancing Turkeys. What do you got to say about that game, dude?
yeah, I hope it was a good game for you guys to watch. I mean, most importantly, I was just proud of Tuca and Gasol kind of really holding their own. I mean, Portis and Turkey, I'm not saying about as good a receiver duo, but pretty much as good a receiver duo as you could ask for. And I mean, you look at the stats; they competed with them. They were getting open. Gasol was hitting these deep bombs. Tuca was catching icons in space and had some pretty good yak. I would say going into the game, we didn't do any game planning. Not as an excuse, but just to say, like, okay, when the game started, my general sense was I would probably need the score on every possession. Probably would need to time the possessions too, which I didn't really do. And then secondly, I figured they thought I would try to throw on Krusty's side a lot, so I mixed it up a good bit. But yeah, I think the main concern was just being worried about Turkey. I think he played such a good game. When you get sneaks on him, he still limits it. I definitely ran the ball a bit. But I also got to give props to them. I mean, Krusty played an excellent game, 21 for 25, no turnovers. They scored every single time they touched the ball. He ran the ball where he needed to, 145 QBR. And I think it came down to that one big play. So kind of take you back on that. We got 1st and 10 on the 10-yard line. I think I might have called the play back-to-back times.
Okay.
But what happened, the first time I did it, I guess I just crossed the line and had no unload. That sucked. And the second time, I just took a god awful. I don't know why I was so close to the line. So I had a second no unload, and unfortunately, that one we didn't get any gain. And I think we would have. If I had executed it, I think we would have got either a touchdown or inside like the 2-yard line or so. Because we did it on Portis' side. Because I thought they would think I'd go out there crusty. When I watched the replay, it looked a little bit open. So who knows what would have happened, right?
Talking about
And
the
then
interception? Interception in the red zone?
That's the next one, yeah.
Okay.
So 3rd and 5, I was like, man, I was just pissed off after back-to-back no unloads. So I was like, man, what do we call here? Tuca called an RB 90 icon, which I think was a really good play call. I executed it pretty poorly. I feel like you pointed this out. I used to run this a lot in season 1, and I think now whenever I run it, I'm too impatient. Probably because of the back-to-back no unloads too. If you watch like the replay, I unloaded it really really early. Like it was basically a hook instead of a 90 icon. And then I just didn't read the field. Like I either could have took the run or waited for him to properly run a 90, and then who knows what happens. But Turkey Fry just made an excellent play. Good position. I think it was smart for them, like, to have the mentality, oh hey, he's probably going to throw it. He doesn't want to consistently run the ball in the red zone. I know that's usually what people will say in pubs. I know Finn told me that before for tournaments. Like he won't want to run here. So I think they just waited for their opportunity, and Turkey seized upon it. And I mean, they played a great game. I think defensively we played a little soft. I probably could have done a few more calls, but honestly, they just carved us up. I think I noticed towards early start, middle, that they kept just running the same route concept. It'd be like a RB crossing route to the top right, and then a medium route bottom, or reverse it. And I think he would just kept running that concept over and over. But I mean, we knew honestly that our defense wasn't good. Like no critique to Devin, but he carved our ass up, and he had never played QB before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think my mentality was, okay, I need to score every possession, and my team put me in a position to do it. I just didn't execute it. So you got to give the Turkeys their props. I think they all played great.
So
what was your thoughts?
my question to you is that if you put Krusty on your team and you put yourself on Krusty's team, do you think it would be a whole entire different matchup? Do you think that because this is where I think you're kind of downplaying the significance of putting you on a team. I think that if you put Krusty on the Lions and then you put yourself on the Turkeys, that you and the Turkeys, people that have been playing, no, I'm not dropping any credit. I think Tuca and Gasol came a long way. Gasol's one of my boys. I absolutely love Gasol. But the skill disparity within the players are I would say they're very big. So I think that if you had someone like Turkey's team, you would beat the Lions by like 20 to 30. Um, so then that kind of brings me back to Cressy not being in my top five because I think he just surrounds himself with good players and they show up there at the last second. And you took two rookies, people that truly like got a lot better throughout the season, that flourished, that took everything that you kind of told them. Doesn't matter how the fuck you told them, right? You told them in whatever way, right?
Zone
You
tackle,
stand on
Tuca.
business. Yeah, zone fucking tackle, Tuca. Okay, I'm just trying to help you out, bud. Okay, don't gotta yell at me. Anyways, so yeah, it was a really electric game. It was a really good game. Hoping that the resilient Lions got the win and the upset, and the Turkeys basically would lose the last 3 out of 4 games that they played, but they clutched up. You made a mistake. That's probably one of the most minimal, not minimal is not the word that I'm looking for, but you don't make that many mistakes when it comes into game-winning situations. So you made a mistake, and then they capitalized on that mistake, and they won the game. So, that's kudos to the whole entire team of Turkeys, and Portis and Turkey have been playing really, really good. So.
Yeah, I think you said it. I think they capitalized on my mistake. That's why I think my team put me in a position to win. We came close. I just got a little too cute with the line crossing stuff, and they made hell of a play. So yeah, I don't really get into the what ifs of the team because I took the team I did. I'm not trying to hide behind rookies.
Yeah.
But I am speaking of win, I am kind of curious how he'll do against 3 veterans, like a very solid defense against you guys. I think Krusty is really good at exploiting a weakness in a defense. I think I do this pretty well at QB too. I think Wayne does it pretty good too, which is part of that thing of playing to win. Will you consistently abuse that one player or that one weakness? So I am curious how some of these QBs will do once they play 3 strong starters, and I think that's why we've seen some struggles this season because some of these defenses have just been so damn solid.
Yeah. And plus, not that many people have been practicing with each other or talking about blitz, and they just go out there and try to do their best. And if the quarterback doesn't have a game plan or kind of have an idea of, synergy within their team and what they're going against, then, they're just going to be shit out of luck. But yeah, good season for the Lions, especially even just making the playoffs. You went from an organization that didn't even go ahead and get a win to going ahead and making the playoffs to going ahead and pushing a team that was supposedly number one for most of it, that started off 3-0, and then that team, the other team on the other side, kind of being resilient within their loss streak that they had, and kind of the ups and downs that the Turkeys have had, and put together a really good performance. And Cressy doing a really good job with 7 touchdowns and taking the Sneaks where it is, and Turkey just remaining to stay really high level on the defensive side. And Portis is no slouch too. So overall, I would go ahead and grade that. Like that was a fun game to watch. I would grade that like a B+ game. It was a B+ game.
Hey, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, Turkey, I think he's the only linebacker in the league, I'd say. But yeah, also a few other things to point out. Crusty took no sacks, just complete hell of a game by him. I know Gasol isn't the best pressure blitzer, but also I'll give Gasol his credits. He had 2 ints this season, which I only had 2 myself, and one of them was garbage. So props to Gasol. I think be on the lookout if he adapts in the future. I think he should kind of play like Turkey since he's not the fastest, and that's what I told him in the season. So we'll see what the future holds for these players.
Yeah. They've grown a lot, and I think even if you look at the other side of the Turkeys, I think Portis has also grown within his defensive kind of mindset. And Turkey obviously just goes out there and produces every single season that he plays in. So I'd like to go ahead and see maybe Turkey go ahead and play some defense, or some corner next year. He played quarterback the other day, absolutely cream pied me. So we'll see what he does. Yeah. Ayo. What's up? What were you going to say?
I was just gonna say, I haven't seen him QB in a while, but he was a good QB back in the day. But
Yeah.
anyway, take us on to the next game.
Yeah. The next game, it might have had less points, but I feel like it was a more electric game, maybe with the turnovers that were at place, the high-flying offenses on each side, the suspense of maybe Wayne finally losing a game and within this playoff parameter, and as quarterback and stuff like that. It's like, oh my gosh, this is all happening. And that was the Majestic Apes against the League of Shadows, where the Majestic Apes fell to the League of Shadows 23-29 on a 2v3 Hail Mary. And let's go from like kind of beginning to the end. Let's not spoil of how it kind of like ended and maybe what you would have done. But what'd you think about that game? And maybe one team could have played it better. What's your takes?
Okay, kind of started the game. I was really impressed with how Smith came out.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly like learning. He was taking the run and everything, avoiding the sack. He was taking the criticism. I think that kind of waned throughout the game. He kind of goes back into his old habits like we all do. But I was impressed how they came out. I think they really could have seized this game if they kept that going. But I mean, both of these QBs just played amazing. Only 4 incompletions the whole game.
Yeah, that's a pretty nutty stat. And Smith played very beautiful the first half. He had the mojo, he had the momentum, and he's probably the shiftiest quarterback I've seen, with the way that he goes ahead and gets out of pressure. And he actually took the sneaks, which is something that we didn't see throughout the regular season. So that was good. And then the other side, like, Wayne was, kind of slouching a little bit. I think early in the game, they got stopped. Did he throw an interception?
No.
Looks
Looks like no wins.
No, but he turned it
He threw
over.
Yeah, I
in the
think it's some
first half.
incompletion or something.
Yeah. It just looked like, I even said on the broadcast, it looked like he was a little bit nervous, and talking to them after, cheeky throughout the game, until the last play. I had some insider information that Cheeky was smoking that weed, smoking that Mary J, and he said he was going to be high before the game, and it showed in a lot of facets of his game because he wasn't playing defense very well. He was very slow within his moves, and just didn't play what we've seen. Cheeky won one of in the consideration of Defensive Player of the Year this year, until the last play. So the whole entire team of kind of League of Shadows, besides Blue Squid has been playing is out of his mind. I think throughout the whole entire season, he's been playing really, really good, putting up really good numbers, blitzing the quarterback really good, um, and yeah, it came to the last minute, dude. Came to the last minute of the game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a fucking nutty game, electric game. Like,
Yeah.
clearly one of the best games we've had. Period. I mean, the blitzers showed out. Like Devin had 10 sacks. Squid I think had like 7. So, and like you said, Squid's had a great season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, had you on your edge of your seat.
Yeah, it did. In that last minute, what happened was Smith, I'm sitting there going ahead and calling the game, and Smith's going back and forth. He might have had the first down of running, and then he goes in and chucks it up, and it's a 2v, or it's a 1v1 situation, 2v1 situation. The nice guy comes in the clutch, only like 13 seconds left, or however long left. There's time for a throw up. Throw up happens, and I'm going to go ahead and ask you this question after I go ahead and tell the story to everybody that didn't watch it. But throws it up, and they're on like the 7-yard line, their own 7-yard line, Wayne was. Throws it up across field, and then as a 2v3 situation, they decided not to go ahead and blitz Devin, which Devin has been on Wayne throughout the whole entire game. Not go ahead and blitz Devin, and they get mossed by Cheeky Wan Wan, the Habs lover, the Alouettes winner of the championship a long, long time ago, comes in the clutch after, having a bad game, silencing the haters, myself included. What are you doing in that situation? Are you agreeing with that, sending 3 back and not blitzing Devin, or maybe doing a 2v1, like maybe blitzing 2 because they're so pinned back? What do you think about that decision?
I mean, no matter what we say, it's going to be a lot of hindsight bias, which shout out to CJ.
Yeah.
But I think I do like sending Devin just one blitz because Devin is a type of blitzer. He's just going to be on sticking to the QB no matter what. So one, the throw won't be that late, and 2, with it being on I think it was the 8, but maybe 7. There's going to be less time to get it off too. The 2B is definitely risky. I don't know if I would do the 2B because I think Devin is just like a 2B in himself. So I think Gurley actually had a really good point. Shout out to Gurley. I think he had an excellent point. Yeah. If they replayed it, I'd probably send Devin after him.
Yeah. And what Tony was saying the other day is that he needs to play for himself within the jump ball scenarios. He's been beat with the jump ball scenarios a little bit because he tries to go ahead and surround it for his team is what his ideology was. But, that was just grueling to watch. On one side, you had the jump ball, boom, 1v1 or 2v1, whatever the case was. I know that it was just Wayne and Tony around that area for most of it. And then, boom, flip side, not even 20 seconds later, it's going down the field, and League of Shadows wins in magical fashion. And I truly think the Majestic Apes, they deserved it, but they didn't deserve it. They deserved it because they had a really fun game. They had a really good game, basically, overall. Besides Smith fumbling and forcing that speed boost within that situation. And then also with the lack of play from the League of Shadows, from Wayne and Cheeky Wan mostly, not having a really good game. Blue Squid had an amazing game, so I'm not going to go ahead and put him in that pot. But, and then they still win. So it kind of piggies back to what you were saying earlier, like player rankings impact on a player's ability to win. Do we take that into account? Like Wayne didn't have a good game. Stats could go ahead and show you one thing, right? But eye test, watching him, that's not one of Wayne's better games. And then he still wins. So it's like, holy crap.
No, I mean, it's pretty valid. I would say that the Apes jump ball was less RNG just because they caught League of Shadows almost like playing like a Haxty or something. So they timed it was kind of like a 2v1/2v2. The League, their last player, I remember got there the very last second, but he wasn't able to move any. He was just able to get to the spawn. So Tony was able to, go to one of the side areas. But yeah, I mean it's a devastating way to lose a playoff game. Kind of sucks if you're the Apes, but I mean, amazing moment for the league. League of Shadows, anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I mean, every time
Uh,
I say their name, I think Legion.
I know, I
I
know.
just can't remember their team name.
Uh,
It's anyway.
just so irrelevant, I guess. So you didn't go ahead and give your grade. Let's go ahead and grade the games. You didn't give your grade about the last one. For this one, I would go ahead and give it an A between the Apes and the League of Shadows.
Yeah,
What
I'm
do you?
giving it an A as well. Just 10 out of 10.
Okay. And then what about your game that you played in?
I think B plus is fine. Like it was
Yeah.
a close game, but I imagine as a viewer, you're like, okay, both of these teams are just kind of moving the ball. Like, where's the, you know, excitement, kind of drama?
Mhm.
Not many sacks. I think there were 2 sacks, and both were on me. So I think this one just had the juice. It had more defense played. Yeah, I think it was just better.
Yeah. And to our last and final topic here of our first podcast on the Stand on Business podcast here with Dan
Hmm.
and Priz, our semis predictions between the Dancing Turkeys and DDE and League of Shadows versus GGG. Let's do the League of Shadows versus GGG first, since I'm on the DDE team. Let's do this one
Okay.
first. What do you think? What's the prediction? What do you have for score prediction? What do you have? How the game's gonna be like? Can you go ahead and give us an insight? Because you got so much insight of the game in these players. Give us the whole entire burrito here.
Yeah, I mean, I would say League of Shadows are probably at least 10-point favorites for me in this one. Uh, they have a complete team, and when you have a complete team, you can call defenses, you can trust each receiver, uh, and I think they play to win more than GGG does. So I would say something like, I don't know, 34-17. Uh,
Oh
I
wow.
probably only give GGG like a 5 to 10% chance to win this game. Gurley, I think, man, he's put up some sacks. He's exceeded expectations. Um, but it's playoffs against 3 really good players, and I think unfortunately he's just going to be a little bit outmatched.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Wayne plays to win more than Finn plays to win. But hopefully we see the good Finn, and hopefully we see an exciting game, because I think Finn is one of the more exciting offenses to watch and one of the better QBs to watch.
So when you say
Oh,
plays to win, I think Finn plays to win, but like knows how to win. Is that what you're saying? Like knows how to win properly. Because I think he plays to win, but he
I
doesn't
mean,
know how to win properly.
yeah, like I mean, when I'm thinking plays to win, like, or yeah, you're playing for keeps. Like you're trying to
Yeah.
get that win. So I think Wayne's going to time the possessions, take the
Mm-hmm.
field goals where he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with Gurley blitzing him is, first off, he's going to be able to get the sneak whenever he wants it. So if he gets into a 2nd and 15 or a crucial 3rd down, he just has that open no matter what, pretty much. Um, and likewise, the icons in middle is going to be open if he ever goes there, but he doesn't really go there much. It's pretty much double routes to the sideline. So there's just more weaknesses. I think GGG isn't able to call many defenses with Gurley. I know my own team, we didn't call defenses really this season just because we would need to learn them and practice them, and I just failed my team on that part. So I think you have a complete team versus a team with 2 really good players and who's had a great season. But what do you think, Dan?
Ooh. Um, I would put my score. Is it going to be high flying? Both of these offense can go ahead and score the ball when they want to. League of Shadows scored 29 in the game, their last game. The game previous, they scored 23. So 29-23. They only scored 3 in the one before that, but they played Muton at quarterback that game. And then when they played against you, they put up 46, but they were playing against Jeff. And, there's just a lot of troubles within that whole entire game, getting sacked, the first drive and all that shenanigans that happened. Um, I think it's going to be a little bit more defensive, and I think it's going to be close. And I think League of Shadows are going to win this 24-21 by a field goal a little bit later. Um, I think you're right with Finn, like playing to playing playing to win the game and how to go ahead and do that. What kind of formula that goes ahead and takes by time management and stuff like that. Like he can't do it. He's always balls to the wall. And if you go ahead and stop him from doing that, just like with what he did another game previously, where I think it was against the League of Shadows when it was a really close game as well. He tried to go ahead and waste time in the first half, and right when he tried to go ahead and do that, it just went downhill from there. So, like, don't try to go ahead and ruin the momentum, the mojo. It could be 24-21 League of Shadows, or it could be, 28-21 GGG. To be honest, it could go either way. But Finn's got to go ahead, put his foot on the gas if he truly wants to go out and win it. Irv has been a security blanket, safety blanket throughout the whole entire season. Gets open for icons nonstop. So if you're League of Shadows, you got to go ahead and play. You got to try to maybe do some one short, one deeps where you just, or maybe man demands, and you just make sure that Irv doesn't get the ball because he'll run routes for Gurley, but he doesn't trust Gurley to go ahead and run the sophisticated routes. He doesn't trust Gurley to go ahead and catch all the icons and stuff. So, and that might go ahead and constitute him to go ahead and have happy feet. And is Blue Squid playing? I know that he said that he's not going to come back.
I think he's playing, as far as I know.
So
But,
if he's playing, both blitzers, Thing and Blue Squid can go ahead and blitz the quarterback very well, but offensively that helps out Wayne a lot. To have someone that kind of knows what they're doing route wise and stuff like that. And honestly, my person to watch out for this game, depicting on who's going to go and win this game or not, is Cheeky Juan. If Cheeky Juan comes in and he comes in as high as he did to that game that he played last week, that one catch kind of bailed him out for that whole entire game. But if he plays like that and doesn't have that catch, it's not going to look good for the League of Shadows. If he comes in and plays like he's been playing basically all season, plays really well, and takes the correct defensive angles and gambles and all that stuff, then League of Shadows will win.
fair enough. I think my matchup is Finn versus Squid, and the particular matchup is, does Finn take the wall sneak? If he doesn't take the wall sneak, Squid's going to get 8+ sacks because Squid's going to dive his second cut. And sometimes Finn just isn't in that wall sneak mode. So we'll see what he comes out. He just can't waste that many downs because if he gets into a second and medium, then they're going to get a defensive call. And if they guess right, then, third and long. And you just can't waste downs when you're this big a underdog.
Yep. And, Blue Squid has been taking away that second and third cut throughout the whole entire time. So if you roll one way, that's kind of Blue Squid's kryptonite. If you roll one way, or you roll diagonally and you have a play that works majority of the time, then that's kind of how you go ahead and neutralize his blitzing. But it's another Finn Wayne matchup. Who's the daddy? They won the first one together, right? And then they lost the second one together. And then the third one, Finn didn't even make the playoffs. And then we're here again with Finn against Wayne quarterbacking. You don't think that's the true storyline, the number one storyline?
I mean, not it. Okay, if you gave Finn even someone, maybe like Nito, okay, maybe I'd make it that matchup. But it's just really not comparable teams to me. So no, it's not.
Oof. Even though the Finn has 2 tier 1s and Wayne doesn't even have a tier 1?
Yeah, I think so, because I think as long as you have players who are good enough, like Squid and Mouton are up there, they get the job done. They can be relied on to run post 90s, post dips, hook plays. Let's run Hacksty, let's run trap, etc. But I'm hoping we have a good game. Hoping Finn balls out to keep it close.
I'm hoping as well. I'm rooting for you. Phineas because I like the underdog. Well, I guess it's not really the underdog within this case because League of Shadows is the underdog, but within the playoffs, Wayne doesn't really lose, and he's been in the Super Bowl basically every single playoff. So I'm rooting for kind of like the underdog in that case. Like, let's see some new people. You're not going to be in it for the first time. Well, I guess you weren't in it last. No, you were in it last season. So you've been in it basically every single season. So you're not in it this season. And let's see some new faces in the Super Bowl. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and for me, I like style differences, which I like because Finn and Wayne have different styles, so that's good to see. Um,
Yep.
I think if we get Wayne versus Krusty, they they honestly play exactly the same to me. So I think it's kind of like not as interesting of a matchup. So I'm hoping we get stylistic differences because that, for me, that's exciting for me to watch as an observer.
Yeah. Seems like dinner's ready for somebody, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up with the last game of the semifinals of season 4 between DDE as the number 1 seed with Dancing Turkeys as what were they seed? Number 4, 5, 5, 6 seed?
3.
Oh,
Wait, no, 4.
4 seed.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this? What do you think about this game, and how do you think it's gonna go for DDE and the Dancing Turkeys?
You know, I'm really excited for this game. It's definitely a really close matchup and a great matchup. I'm giving the Turkeys the favorites. I would say 4.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could see how people would think Romo's a better QB in some ways because he has probably better pass timing and stuff like that. You know, more interesting plays. But I think Presty's probably the better winner compared to the two. Um, I think Turkey Fry is going to have a much better game against Romo this time. I just think they're overall a slightly better team. Um, especially with like the recent drama with you guys. I don't know if y'all have played together recently. Whereas, you know,
No.
the Turkeys are going to be well prepared both in the film room and I feel like they've been pretty active lately. So I think they're ready for another Super Bowl run. And I mean, they're like 2/3 of the Super Bowl team last season. I kind of keep saying I think they're 90% of what they were last season. You know, you sub in Portis for Wayne, that's not too big of a drop off. Maybe even better on defense with Portis. So it's gonna be hard, but it's not like it's a 90% like I had the other game. I think this one is maybe 60-40, 65-35, something like that. And also, I think Romo, I mean, the big thing for y'all is how does Romo perform in the red zone? That's what it's just going to come down to. Like he can have as cool plays as he wants, and I love Romo's playbook. I think he's an exciting QB to watch, so I'm excited to watch him. But how is the man going to perform in the red zone? Is he going to take the run?
I played
But what do
for
you think,
both
Dan?
teams. I played for both teams this season. Kind of got a glimpse and just playing with Cressy and other situations, scenarios too. I do think that Romo uh, doesn't get the respect that he truly deserves in a lot of cases because of the way that what he did in the first 2 weeks. And, I could have done a better job, especially the week 2 game going and helping him. But I wanted him to go ahead and learn because the biggest thing from reason why I call the Turkeys the underdogs of this season and why I call, which I guess they're not really because they won the first playoff game, right? But the reason why I say that we're kind of like dangerous of last season, and then they're kind of like the underdogs of last season is because they won a lot of games early and they didn't really learn from their mistakes and they won in very close games that they could have easily lost. And the difference is that DDE lost close games that they easily could have won in
Okay.
both ones. And, I think both quarterbacks are going to be nervous. I think both quarterbacks are going to want it because both quarterbacks want to go ahead and win. And it's really going to be who's going to have the better mind games at the end of the day, right? And if it's between Turkey and myself, or if it's between the defenses and how they go ahead and interact, it's truly going to be that. And I could see it going either way. I do feel like, you know, Kite with everything that's happening with Kite right now. I think Kite's had actually his best season that he's had yet. I think he's been playing astronomically extremely well, especially defensively. So hopefully he can go ahead and carry that into the playoffs. And with Romo not playing that much as well, we are pretty active within our chat and we do talk about things. So, and I know that the turkeys aren't very active within their chat in the way that they talk, but they have been playing together. They just had the playoff game and Turkey looks like he's been getting on randomly a couple times and Portis has been playing pubs. So they have that advantage with them playing. It's really going to come down to who makes a mistake. Someone makes a mistake, especially if they make it early. That's really going to hurt them. And that's probably going to go ahead and ruin their chances of winning the game entirely. So whoever makes a mistake first, it's probably going to lose this game. So it can go both ways. But whoever makes a mistake, whoever gets a turnover, and then they go ahead and, score off that turnover or ugly interception or like what Cressy did within our game of fumbling it on the 2-yard line, lateraling it on the 2-yard line, and then I ran it for 90, 99 yards or 98 yards or whatever the case is. Those huge game-changing plays, then it's just going to be over. So I do have trust in my team. I think Romo's came a long ways. I know he's going to want it. And Cressy's going to want it, but Cressy's been there before. And obviously, this guy traded me because I told him to suck my balls, and he traded me the next day. And
Stand on business.
I'm gonna want it too. You know what I mean? And I gotta prove myself a little bit. I gotta win a fucking game. So, I'm gonna go in there and try my hardest and try to go ahead and get it. And I think it's gonna be a little bit lower scoring. I think it's gonna be somewhere between like 21-18 DDE is what I'll probably go ahead and give it. So,
Okay.
Wait, is 21-18 a good score? Hold on.
It could be.
No. 14-17. We'll do 21-17. 21-17.
Okay.
DDE.
Well, I did say Romo's red zone offense is going to be a key. I think the other key, if I'm going on the other team, that I'll be looking for is how does Krusty perform against a complete defense and a defense that calls plays? Against us, we obviously were a weak defense. Tuca covered for my ass a lot, and we only called, I think, 2 traps and maybe one short, one deep or something, or 2 blitz maybe.
Mhm.
And last season's playoffs, I kind of think he maybe did so against Squid Ink. I think it was a low scoring game, so I think he may have had some struggles. They were a pretty good defense. Dangerous, we obviously had our liabilities and kind of me and Young had bad synergy at the end coverage wise. But you guys, y'all have the ability to have a complete defense that everyone's showing up in good shape. Y'all can run any defense. And I think you need to have players who honestly are going to have the mentality of when they see a route and they're like, okay, this is an obvious fucking lure. I know where the play's going. And I think Kite has that ability. I think you have that ability. Romo might have that ability. Sometimes he goes on the safer side, but he's a good cover. So I think you guys have the ability to call out their BS and be like, okay, this is going to be the big 90 up, or this is going to be the double route. Versus just sitting back. We kind of just sat back and got driven on, kind of like season 1 TTT. So I'm excited to see that dynamic against an aggressive, complete defense. I mean, y'all were tremendous in a regular season, so it's gonna be a great game.
Yeah. Hopefully it is. And Turkey and Portis are both great players in their own respect. And Portis is a very shifty offensive player, and he gambles a lot on defense. And Turkey's been playing extremely well defensively and is pretty sure-handed. So you got to give credit where it's due. And just like we said, the Cressy team from this year, from last league to this league, hasn't really changed much. But we don't really do narratives. We're not going to do narratives on the show, okay? We stand on business. And let's go ahead and stand on business on this, okay? Krusty traded me for Portis, and people said that was the worst trade, and Portis is so much better. Oh, am I still here?
Nope. Yep.
Okay. Sorry, my screen went black, and I freaked out there for a second. And, Portis is so much better than Dan and XYZ. And yes, I am washed. And yes, I am bald. But don't get it twisted, Krusty. It's me against you, baby. It's not a narrative. It's what it is. You did this. There's no dancing turkeys without Dan in that turkeys. Okay? You chose not to go and change your team name. You sent me away the day after I told you to suck my balls because I didn't run your route and I ran a different route and I was wide open. I got a touchdown. Whatever the reason why you go ahead and trade me, just know that this next game has my legacy kind of on the line a little bit. And also, it has your legacy of being an owner because if I win this next game against you, because we beat you really bad, 28-6, first game, kind of rubbed your salt in those, in those wounds of yours there for a little bit. And yeah, you better squelch me tomorrow because if things aren't going your way, you're gonna be hearing from me, big boy. I mean, not tomorrow. Saturday afternoon.
Ooh.
The game is lined up. So,
Ooh, we got an
Yeah.
afternooner.
yeah, first afternoon
Never
game.
had that.
Yeah, 1
Let's
p.m.
fucking go,
1
baby.
p.m. PST, 3 Central. Another
Oh,
game
my
hasn't
fat
been skipped.
ass. My fat ass is gonna be on the couch with a bag of chips.
Yeah. With all due seriousness as well, staying on business, I do appreciate Cressy and love Cressy, but yeah, it'll be fun going against them. And
Yeah,
getting
PFP
it
and
done.
Krusty, the opinions of my co-host do not represent my own.
You have your own stand on business opinion, okay? I have my own stand on business opinion, so that's totally okay. Well, we're at like the hour and a half mark, my friend. We're through all of our topics for staying on business for this week. Hopefully people enjoy it. Hopefully people like it. I know people have been in my DMs talking about Cressy using my DMs. Like, you and Chris should do a podcast. That'll be so great. You probably told them about it. That might have been cooking or whatever the case is. But
No, I got him blocked.
Oh, nice. You got Cressy blocked?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But I'm just glad the season is over. It just got like a little weirdly obsessed this season. So
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have new
Shout out
topics
to
maybe.
Jeff.
Yeah. We'll have new topics maybe next week. Maybe we'll come back next week and do it again. Maybe we'll do this weekly thing. Go ahead and throw some real life stuff out or some other stuff that's going around. March Madness this weekend. Bunch of crazy stuff happening this weekend.
Go Cougs.
Yeah, I have Houston Cougars. They beat my Zags, but I did have them going on winning it all. I bet actually $30 on them winning. So if they win, I get 170 or something like that is what the odds are. So go Houston Cougars. And
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I hope everybody has fun. I hope everybody goes and enjoys this podcast. And we're going to go ahead and log off. My name's Dan.
And this is the Angler.
And this is your first episode of Standing on
Business. Shout out
There.
Big D.
Shout out Big D. Shout out Blue Squid. We love you guys. Kite, tell G-Mom coming. Bye.